Yo, what's going on, guys? Singh here, back at you again with another video. This time talking about defense. Wanted to talk to you guys about what generals are I think right now are the best in the game. How I built out my defense. Um, maybe how you guys could build out your defenses. Maybe a little bit about some reports that I saw on All Stars, some thoughts that I have about it, and yeah, hopefully this gives you a little bit of inspiration about how you guys can start to aim your defense. And there's a couple things I see every now and again that people are doing and refining for that I think don't really make sense. And hopefully I can steer you guys in the right direction. So want to start off by first pointing out who I think are the top defense generals in the game. Um, I just want to give an honorable mention to a few people. JEJ. I think JEJ is still a stellar wall general. If you have him fully specced out, I see no need to replace him. Zach Taylor, still a fantastic wall general. Don't see any need to replace that dude. Yi Sun Sin, I still think he's great. If you have him specced out and you're still working on runes for other generals, I really don't see a full need to replace that dude, especially if you're still working on other wall generals. Queen Boudica, great cav general, fantastic general for protecting your calves. Pretty underrated in my opinion. If you're purely focused on protecting your calves, she's fantastic. Um, yeah, a little underrated. So if you have her specced out, I really wouldn't rush to change anything yet. Um, Especially with assisted generals coming out, maybe just wait for that to happen before you make any changes. Robert the Bruce, I think he's a great wall general. Even though he doesn't say anything for the wall, I do think he's a good wall general, especially with those base stats. Pretty good. And yeah, so let me get into like my top three. Oh, also Trajan. I think Trajan's a pretty good wall general still. I know a lot of folks in the older servers are rocking him. I mean, just look at those stats. Fantastic, pretty overpowered, especially from the tavern. Um, so yeah, those are some honorable mentions, and want to get into my top three. Well, you guys just saw William Marshall. He's my choice for at least my type of build and my defense. I think he's a fantastic wall general, and yeah, let me just go over the top three first. So him, Leo the Third. I think he's a great pick. One of the newer generals that just came out, and Leonidas. I think these three are the best wall generals in the game right now. And I'll get into why. So first is the base stats and the base stat scaling. So if you look at this right column over here, um, a lot of people don't entirely know what this means. And actually, for a long time, I didn't fully understand what this meant. But this is essentially, think of this as like potential for the general. So as the general levels up, this number indicates how much percentage for HP, attack, and defense he will gain as he levels up. So you can see for Leonidas specifically, his defense scaling is amazing compared to what you see on most generals. HP scaling, which is leadership, is really good, above 9, which is, you really, really don't see that too often. Attack is lacking for sure, but on defense, yeah, HP and defense are really, really important on defense, which is one of the reasons why I think Leonidas is a really, really good wall general. And then second reason, historically, ground is really strong early game, especially because everyone's just slinging archers everywhere. And also, I think later on in the game as well, like as you're getting big, I think ground attack is kind of an underrated skill, and Leonidas is ground attack out the wazoo. If you look at his base skill, 30% ground attack, 30% ground HP, and then you get 25% range attack. First skill, 10% ground attack, 10% ground HP. I think this is another 10% ground attack and 10% mounted attack. You get the ground troop Ares, which is ground attack, HP, and defense. And you get the ground attack and a little bit of mounted attack debuff as well. So he's got the whole shebang. I think Leonidas is great. You definitely need to refine around this though. Maybe some siege refines for sure. Definitely mounted love. You need a lot of mounted love on this guy, for sure. So you're gonna need to refine around him properly. But I think early game especially is gonna be fantastic. His scaling is fantastic. If you get Leonidas, great choice. If you have him already, stick to him. Great general. Don't make any changes. I think he's fantastic. Leo the Third. If there's if there's any hope of surviving siege rallies anytime soon, Leo the Third is the way to go. 45% siege attack. I mean, he's got siege HP, which I love, and more siege attack in his first skill. Over here, more siege attack and in city range troop attack. He's got the siege Aries over here, so even more siege buffs, and then more siege buffs at the end. 30% siege attack. So he's got siege everywhere. And the most common attacks you'll ever see come at your keep is range and siege. Especially as you get bigger, you're going to see a lot more siege. Leo the Third is built to counter both of them. So I think he's a great wall general for that. For that purpose, you're definitely going to need to focus heavily on your mounted buffs, like mounted HP, mounted defense, and maybe a little bit more siege HP. If you're going to be using him as your general to tank both siege rallies and range rallies. Mainly speaking to the bigger folks who are, you're using defending against siege rallies as well. But yeah, I think he's a great choice. If you got him as well, if you've worked on him, fantastic. Great general. And Marshall. So I like Marshall because I think he's a little bit more all rounder. He's maybe lacking a little bit in ground buffs and could use a little bit more siege HP love, but generally speaking, I really like him for his base stats over here. I think his base stats are really good. I like the high HP, I like the high HP scaling, and I like the mounted HP buff over here. He's got the 20% cav HP, 20% ground HP, in-city range troop attack, 20%, in-city siege machine attack, 20%. I think all of that's really, really helpful. And he's got the siege machine attack 10%. I really don't like the siege machine defense, to be honest, but it's okay. Classic skill that we see with a lot of wall generals, 6% in all troop attacks. He's got the range troop Aries. Not the biggest fan, but that's fine. And this skill is great. So when we're refining our gear on defense, we really overlook mounted attack pretty often. I know that I took my mounted attack off my wall general, so this really does make up for that. And then we got another 20% range troop attack and siege machine attack over here at the end. So I think he really balances him out pretty well, but you do need to bring up his ground attack pretty substantially, I think. Especially with the Marshall build. Definitely need to pick it up with some ground attack. But yeah, main reason I like him for larger keeps at least is the base stat scaling and the mounted HP. I think he's a pretty good general for that purpose. So that's why he's my choice. I don't want to buy anything, Evony. Thank you. And I'll go over my Marshall. So this is how I got my guy built. Do keep in mind, I know that not everyone has access to this gear. Also, I have the wrong ring on. This is an experiment, so please ignore that. But so I rock the Aries sword. Again, I'm trying to make up for my ground attack that's lacking on defense. I'm a big fan of ground attack. On defense, I do have that 24/8 range attack. I just couldn't get myself to let go of that. I don't really see range doing too much on defense, but I guess if I do get to the point where I start getting calved, it will come into play. I think the military academy does have a lot of in-city range troop buffs, so there's not really too much of a need for it, but yeah, it's fine. It's a really high buff, but I think I'm getting enough ground attack from the sword. And the right ring here is actually the Courageous Ock ring. Courageous Ock ring is the correct one, but I'm going for more siege buffs. So this is just in case I don't get to swap my wall general properly for siege rallies, because this Marshall isn't fully built to take siege rallies. But I do have my Thebes on him. I do have my talents unlocked on Thebes, and I do have a good size of my siege troops, so I think I'll do pretty okay if I do end up taking a siege rally with Marshall on the wall, even though he's not built for it. But yeah, the ring is here just in case for that. And I do have some other science going on with this, so just a reminder that this, I think, is the correct ring, Courageous Ock. But yeah, ground, siege. That's my choice for attacking troop types on defense, and you'll see why. I'll share some reports in a little bit. As far as the chest plate, right now I like the Fearless Ack. If you do have that new chest plate that came out in the last set of Civ Gear, I think that's really, really good. And for people watching this in future videos, it's the Japanese set with the mounted defense, ground defense, and then cav HP, ground HP. I think that's currently the best set or best chest plate for defense, unless they end up releasing some in-city set. That thing is amazing, really, really good. And you'll notice all mounted and ground, all mounted and ground. Please don't do any siege defense or, in my opinion, don't do any siege defense. Don't do any range defense or fines on your chest plate or your boots. I really don't see siege defense helping against siege rallies. We're still going 2.5, 3x on people with high siege defense. I'm sure it's mitigating somehow a little bit in some ways. I still think the best way to fully mitigate a siege rally is to have two generals and to do a swap. And I think you need one full focused cav general, frontline general, and then you need one full focused, anti-siege general. That's the best way to do it. But that's for the larger keeps. But if you're a smaller keep, I'm 10.6, so small to me is like 500 to like 2-3 bill. I'd say mounted and ground is where you want to go. Protect those frontline troops. Think of it like when you get range rally, the first thing to engage is your mounted troops. You want to protect them, buff them as much as possible, and that's why I like this gear. It's protecting. It's giving you ground defense, ground HP, in-city range troop attack, and you're getting ground defense and in-city range troop attack. For the helmet, I like the Freedom Hero hat. You're getting 60% ground defense, and you're getting 30% mounted HP. Some people like the plant helmet on defense. I think that's great. I'm rocking it on my Martinus already, so I do like that for offense. But yeah, this is my choice for my helmet, and all mounted refines. All mounted refines here. And for the legs, I got the Courageous Ares. Again, more mounted HP, siege machine attack. The range troop defense, in-city range troop defense, I'm not crazy about. I don't really think it does much at all, but it's mainly for the mounted HP and siege machine attack. I do find those both useful. And all mounted troop HP as well, especially for my size. I really got to protect my calves. So that's my wall general. I have my siege machine range bonus, of course. Gotta have that. I'm doing ground speed on the wall. A little bit of a science experiment as well, but I like ground on defense. I think ground kills range, and getting ground to those range troops as fast as possible I think is really important. And cav HP, gotta protect those calves as much as possible, so I'm trying to break 1k for cav HP. I think I'm getting close, so just preparing for all-stars, when that comes up, and hopefully don't get smacked as hard this time around. And yeah, so that's that. I'll show you my Thebes. So Thebes, mounted HP, yeah. If you can tell, I really want to protect my calves. There's a theme here. That's my frontline troop. Yeah, so I have my Thebes all ready to go for mounted HP, mounted defense. Again, so if I do get sieged, you do have that in-city siege attack over here, and then I have my specs over here, siege machine attack, siege defense, and then I have in-city siege machine attack 40%, and then ground HP, which is gonna help if they get further down the road with attacks. But I'll show you my troops. So like I said, I like ground attack on defense. I bulked up heavily on my T14 ground. 6 mil with the rest T14s, decent amount of T13 ground. The T13 Arch was a phase that I went through where I thought T13 Arch was better than T12. I still think it's fairly decent for Battlefield, but SVS T12 I think is still much better, much more efficient. So it's just mainly for bullets for Battlefield, which is why I'm so heavy there. But you'll see Cav is a little bit less than the rest. T12 Siege, 7 mil. And yeah, you'll see T11 Siege, Gotta have those for attack. My babies. Love my siege. Siege is king. Then got my T10 and T9 is up a little bit. So T10 and T9 is a little bit heavier. My layers are at 3 million currently. I think my siege layers are lower. Yep. And my cav layers are 3 and my ground layers are 5. Yeah. So it's going to repeat like that the whole way down. So that's currently my setup. Not shy about showing that. Let me see if we can get in some rallies real quick. And yeah, so that's my build. The big thing I wanted to really point out is that you don't want to go for like range defense on these refines or siege defense. I see a lot of that. And it's really a waste in my opinion. Like it doesn't really help anything. And same thing with range HP. It doesn't really help anything. If you are an all-in-one wall general and you're not going to swap your wall general for siege rallies, then have some siege HP refines on your wall general for sure. I think it's going to be very helpful. 100% going to be very helpful. It's the right thing to do. I just prefer to swap my general. I trust myself to do that. I have a team that can reinforce very well. I'll show you an example. So this is when I got siege rallied once in Battlefield. Went pretty well. I lost 300. They lost 800 almost. And I swapped to my siege general on the wall. And you'll see my siege buffs were quite stellar. Not bad. Almost 1,000 siege HP, 900 siege defense, and 1,200 siege attack. And I did just fine. And I want to show you what made me go on this craze with ground attack on defense. So this is actually after Bob killed me in All Stars, and I was looking through reports. I was looking through a lot of reports, but specifically the reports on me. So this is Bob's range rally on me. I had 2 reinforcements here, and actually I didn't have Marshall on the wall. I don't know why it's showing Marshall. I think this is when I had I'm not sure if I had Marshall on the wall here, actually. I had someone else. But, so this is when Bob rallied me. I'm pretty sure I didn't have Marshall on the wall, so I'm not sure why this shows Marshall, but I lost 2.7, he lost 2.1, and let's go to the buffs. So, ground defense, almost 1k, 950 cav HP, 900 ground cav defense. Thought I was looking pretty good there. 1100 siege attack, could be higher. My range attack was really high. I did not cap his range attack, which was 1850 at the time, and it's much higher now. So range attack debuff, extremely important. And I had a ground rain, which did fantastic. And I had a big siege rain, which did diddly. The lower tiers did okay, but so let's see what my defense did, right? So look at the T14 ground right off the bat, and I don't know if this is a case of he ripped through all my calves, and then the next, the ground started engaging with the range, and this is why the ground started to do work, but I've become a fan of ground after this report. I've become a fan of save my calves after this report, but he shredded all my calves, got through, I think, almost all my range as well, or he did get through all my range. But you could see 5 million kills from the ground. Notably, 5 million kills right here. What did my T14 siege do? Nothing. All my T14 calves died right away. Look at that ground. Range did nothing. Calves all died. I mean, you guys are seeing this, right? Look at what the ground is doing. Look what the siege is doing. Look what the range is doing. This is what you should be doing with your defense, right? This is what like a thinking player does with the game, right? They look at their defenses. All right, next report. 8 million T13 siege does nothing. But my ground, 3 million kills. Look at all this range that does nothing. All these calves just melted. T12 siege, I have so many. Only 750 kills. 750k. But the ground, T11 ground, I have 2.6 mil, and they got 2.2 kills. Starting to see a trend here. All right. Range troops. All right, T11 range is starting to get some kills. That's interesting. T11 Cavs just melted. T11 Siege, I had 4 million left. They got 500,000 kills. Alright, ground still doing work. This time, my T10 ground did more kills than I have ground, which is crazy. And actually, these lower tier range are starting to kill a little bit. All my cows melted over here. T10. Alright, this is when I started to realize something. Why did my T10 seed start to activate? Interesting. So this is something that I was looking into a little bit, but then yeah, you'll see there's ground across the board. Cows melting again. Cows just melting. I'm sorry. Yeah, so I'm continuing to shut through my range. Cows melting. And then T9 Siege activating. And then ground getting more kills. So what I took away from this is that the top tier Siege hasn't been doing much at all. The T14 against a range rally, T13 against a range rally, T12, T11, but these mid tiers, T10, T9, seem to be activating against a range rally. And the ground also seem to be activating against a range rally. So I wanted to buff those as much as possible, support them, right? Because this is what's working. In my defense, this is what's working. And I was like, all right, maybe this is a one-off thing. So I was like, all right, let me look at some attack loss reports. Let's see what's going on. Oh crap, this dude's ground is doing work too. What about his siege? Damn, wait. Look at his ground. Oh damn, but siege attack. Everyone siege attack though. Everyone wants siege attack, right? Oh no, but look at his ground. But siege attack, right? Siege attack. Everyone says siege attack though. But what is T13 siege doing? It is nothing. But look at the ground. Siege attack, right? Siege attack. So yeah, everyone goes crazy over siege attack. And that's just because that's what they're told to do, but no one actually looks at the reports. And it's ground, man. That's what I'm telling you. Ground is the way. And that's why I have all these ground buffs. That's why I'm buffing my calves. And that's why I'm bulking up my T10 siege, which I'm seeing again and again. So I'm bulking up my T9 siege, which I'm seeing again and again. And yeah, it's like I've looked at all these reports multiple times, and that's why I've made the decisions with my defense that I've made. Let's look at this one. This one we saw his range activate, which I couldn't figure out why. But look at his range. Ground still getting a ton of kills. Siege still freaking just taking a nap. Ground getting a bunch of kills. Calves just melted. I think it has to do with how far into the troops they're getting. Because you could see some range troops are living at the end of this one, right? All his range didn't melt. So I'm thinking if they didn't get through all of his defending range troops here, and some are living at the end, maybe they're fighting back before they're getting a turn to fire back before they just melt and go away. But I mean, look at the siege attack, right? So yeah, these are just some, again, look at the siege. Just some observations, guys. Let's see, look at this, 8 million T11 siege doing diddly. But look at this, 4 million T10 siege did 2 million kills. So I'm not sure if other All-Stars players have noticed this, but this dude had a bunch of reigns. I'm not sure. I think reigns changes how things happen on defense. Look, this dude, his calves lived. What, did we siege this dude? Oh, this is a siege, okay. So what's the next report? We arranged him. This dude's full of reigns. Full of reigns. What happens when they're full of reigns? Let's see. Ground still activates. Siege still does nothing. Ground is getting kills. Siege still does nothing. Ground is getting kills. T12 does nothing. Let's see the T10s. Oh, this time T10 didn't do as much. But as a proportion of their whole, right? Like they're doing 20% of the representation. If you scale that up, might be doing more. So, all right, let's see Larhart. Let's see this one. Defender. same thing. T14 ground, yada yada. T13 ground. So, just some things that I've noticed, guys. Again, the ground. This time range getting some kills. So again, I'm guessing this happens when, yep, and you're seeing the range live. So when the range isn't just purely melt, it does start firing back. So there's an argument for some range attack on defense for sure, if you're able to keep those range troops alive. But yeah, look at these range troops. They start to fire back when they are alive at the end. But look at this 5 million T11 siege just doing diddly. And then the ground troops not doing diddly. And let's see the T10. All right, yeah, there you go. Let's just say this dude had 10 million, right? If this dude had 10 million T11 siege, what's that, like 4 million kills if that was scaled up? So just some things that I've noticed, guys. Just some things that I've noticed. And if that's what I did for a long time after All Stars, and that's when I made this decision. That's when I made, this decision, and going crazy in the mounted HP, and pick this general as a whole, and like pick the ground speed, and like I thought this through, and that's how I came to this conclusion. This is why I decided, like, okay, 2 separate generals, one for tanking range rallies, one for tanking siege, and this is why I think that there needs to be 2 different generals. You can't have an all-in-one, in my opinion. But yeah, so there is still a skill factor in the game when it comes to defense. Like, I think there is somewhat of a solution. You just have to swap. Because, I mean, if you see, I did get sieged as well in All Stars. And I didn't die. I actually went positive. Man, this video is super long. So I did get sieged. Granted, I had 15 million reigns. Embassy was stuffed. It was a 30 million siege rally, though. But, yeah, went, was it 800 mil positive? And, I mean, my reigns were ground, which is nothing. Ground, which is nothing. This is a big siege reign. You'll see again, big siege works against reinforcements. So anyone who says it doesn't, no, it does. T13 siege doing work. From Zoro, my man, who knows what he's doing. Muhammad. I sent ground with a siege general. Cav, which does help. And ground. So I had 2 proper reigns, the rest are ground, which is nothing. So they're pretty much mainly was me and then layers. And these dudes sent this dude sent no general. And then you'll see the buffs. This is when I had more percent refines on defense. And yeah, if you're able to swap your general to have a siege general on the wall, and you get some range, you could win. But yeah, guys, this was like a brain dump about defense is the best way I could describe it. It went with some. First, it was very basic, and then it was very, very advanced level, like what my analysis was on All Stars rallies and stuff. So, I'm just gonna throw this video up on YouTube. I hope you guys get something out of it. If you have any questions, leave it below. If you don't agree with me, that's fine, dude. This is just what my thoughts were. It's okay. You can leave those in the comments below too. Hope you enjoy, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.